do openlylocal.com and Open Charities, so we're both pretty well steeped in trying to get data out there. One of the problems we both faced was actually matching information to matching companies. And if I take it out, we'll try again. And actually, I started pulling in the spending data, and I started putting in local authority spending data. And one of the first things you want to do is match that up to a company. Well, I'll just talk and you guys have so matching stuff to companies is really difficult. And the reason matching things to companies is really difficult is because companies use all sorts of different names. It's because actually companies aren't listed in one single place. Government, we did a presentation this morning with the Cabinet Office of a little site that we did called Who Supplies Government, and which was matching companies to in their records, or rather names, all they are is just a collection of letters from their perspective, to real world companies. We matched about 41% of the entities that they had paid. Now partly that was to do with them paying local authorities or other government bodies, but also partly it was to do with them using names that don't mean anything to companies, or names that are just trading names, or names that are descriptive rather than the thing. So what we did was we built decided that someone needs to solve this problem, and someone needs to solve this problem for the world, because companies aren't based in one jurisdiction, they've got subsidiaries all around the world. So we decided to build Open Corporates, and which was essentially the corporate database for the world. It's all going to be open, it's all open data. We've actually got it running, it's all working fine, and we've got some indexing to do before we put it on the search indexing.
So essentially it's an alpha that I think will probably be in a better state next week. And as Chris has said, the problem we're trying to solve is this problem that we can't actually track companies. They're a very important part of our society internationally. They exert a huge political influence over us, not only at a national level, but also as we have other unions which are higher, like the European Union. So these are incredibly influential, powerful institutions that influence our lives, and we have no way of tracking what's happening with them. So that's why it has to be international, because they operate internationally, so we have to operate internationally. So the traditional way you can imagine this happening is you just search for a company. We provide facets, whether they're active or dissolved, what sort of company they are. There will be an international facet so you can find out which jurisdiction they're operating in. But as is typical with what's going on, is government released data sets, and we saw today that the UK government launched spending at the national level by departments. And typically what you end up getting from them is a CSV file that looks like this sort of data. So what we've done is we've implemented the Google Refine reconciliation API. So you can load, this is actually the data that got released this morning, you can load it in, and here we've got a supplier. Sorry, Chris?
Refine is the new name for GoodWorks. Some people use it to refer to GoodWorks.
So here we're just offered with the service, we've already put in the URL for the Open Corporates service, and then we just tell it to, it's off screen, hopefully that's the one. Very hard to, you can see the Google Refine interface was not designed for low-res screens. If we're lucky, that is refining, if not, maybe if I make the font, that's going to help. So if we pick the service, this is quite easy, but live demo is always difficult. And there we go, it's actually run the reconciliation. So now we've got potential matches. You can see that this company, BA Systems Operation Limited, actually sort of had an exact match. So we can choose to say, yes, we agree. And then we can click and we can get further information about that company that's on the Open Corporate's website. So what you can see here is actually they've had some environmental protection notices that they've filed at the London Gazette, and if you drill down into that, you can see that this is about getting the right to a permit right to do some activity that causes pollution in a particular area. So you can see that by aggregating this information about a very important set of institutions, we're going to be providing tools for journalists, even for the government people who are trying to publish this information, that they be able to actually do this reconciliation inside of government before releasing data. Chris?
Well, I think to me, we've both been heavily involved in the open data stuff, but this is, to me, the most important thing we've done. It's important for society, and it's important for people out there. Like, Richard Pope is working on planning alerts. He's going to match those together against companies and so on. We've pulled in London Gazette for, I think, the last 20 years so far.
I think we've got a decade of London Gazette notices, which is about 1.5 million London Gazette notices.
And our working way through the Edinburgh Belfast Gazette, we've got all the health and safety executive notices, enforcement and prohibition notices, and we've got UK, and we've got a couple of other smaller countries. We've got Jersey and Bermuda in there as well, and are working our way through. We'd desperately love to hear from people who in other territories who'd like us to help us identify the best way of getting the information on companies in their area. We're going to, as soon as we probably on Monday or Tuesday next week, we're going to have a thing where, if you come up with a company and we haven't got it, whether it's in Germany or wherever, you can just put the information in there. Obviously that would be flagged as untrusted information when you request it. All the data is open data under the Open Database license, which we strongly believe in, and which means it can be used commercially as well as non-commercially. And I think it's pretty important. This is to stress, it's not just the UK companies. This is any company anywhere in the world.
And it's also not just the information about the company's registered address, it's also linking it to all the other information about companies. So with my Who's Lobbying site, I'm going to be using this reconciliation API to link the organisations they said have had meetings with ministers back to which companies they came from. So that will be another data set that will get folded into this increasingly large corpus of information. And
similarly, open charities, I just did the code a few minutes ago, so the open charities, there are lots of charities are actually companies with a charitable purpose. And so we're going to be linking directly to them, and vice versa, because many of those bigger charities, who are companies with a charitable purpose, they actually have to submit and publish as data their annual returns as well. So we've already got that information, and now we can tie the sort of things together. So there's a whole load of opportunities here, and we're extremely interested in talking with people who want to help exploit those.
Yes, we got some questions already. So
yeah, on that line of different other data sets, is there any relevant tax data set that you could be linked to, like their tax payments every year?
Well, I don't. In this country, probably not. In other countries, I think Norway is quite open about the tax they pay, and some places in America are. I know I asked for some tax information on charities, and I was told that it was forbidden by law for that to be published for this country. But certainly, there's no reason why we can't. And again, there's a real benefit to doing this, which is saying, hey, look, we've got that information for Norway or wherever. That your country has been hobbled by, you can't see what's going on in your country because of the way that you're running the company's legislation, the tax and so on. So absolutely, and even if there's just one or two where we can do that, we will do that. If you can, particularly if someone can help us, and we can, and then we can help persuade other countries to follow the same things.
So hopefully you will get us the Vodafone 6 billion tax rebate.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we got gentleman over there, then Lee.
Are you now taking like corporate linkage so you can see what companies are part of that company?
Yes, yes. I mean, we've both been lobbying very hard for the publication for the non-confidential parts of the Interdepartmental Business Register, which in the UK does it. Some other countries actually have that, and we've got the facility to do that. Sometimes, I mean, one of the problems with that, and one of the reasons why they're not publishing at the moment, one of the reasons they're not publishing the IDBR, is that it's a matter of opinion. And whether a company controls another company, you know, it could control it by owning 30% of the shares. It could not be controlled by only 30% of the shares. Sometimes that's a matter of opinion. So, and often it's only determined in court if it comes to that. So but yes, that relationship is absolutely critical.
Who you see as the primary users of a site like this? Like, who would it be potential investment groups? Would it be citizens? Would it be other corporations, governments?
I think it's, I mean, in the same way that, sorry.
Yes, all of those.
Yeah.
I mean, what's great is it is going to be just a platform of information and sort of a placeholder for adding more information and obviously linking out to the source of the information. And I would imagine that all of those groups you mentioned have an interest in finding out this information at certain points in time.
But also other companies. You know, do you know what? It's a pretty good way of keeping track of what your competitors are doing. You know, so actually, and having this, and when you get something like this that's in the open domain, then the more it becomes useful, the more people start to want to add stuff to it, correct their data, things like that, and it becomes virtuous. But the point is unlike things like Dun & Bradstreet and some of those other sets, this is out in the open, and so you can see those things.
So you're thinking of financing, for example, like a plugin for Salesforce, something like that? I mean, people pay a lot of money for this.
Well, we're working on the API at the moment in terms of how to do that, and then obviously once the API is sorted, then you know, any of those things becomes fairly straightforward. You know, so absolutely. It's
I mean, primarily the first API we have working is the reconciliation service API that works with Google Refine. Google Refine just got launched last week as the 2.0, which had a reconciliation service built in. So that's actually a RESTful JSON API, so that's already there actually to do the reconciliation.
And although, you know, obviously we're seeing people who want to be using Google Refine, particularly those who own data and want to reconcile their own data, we see this as terrifically important for them. But also, because it's just an open API and a RESTful API, anyone can use it. You can write a bit of code, you could do a library against it, you could, you know, do a bit of JavaScript to call it. It's fairly easy. It returns, give it a name of something, it will give you something back and it will score it for you as well.
Okay. I'm going to take just a couple more questions. I mean, it depends how hungry people are, but you know, I think maybe a couple of questions is quite reasonable.
So I'm interested in there are other companies doing the same thing as you and opening up the sort of philosophy. How are you cooperating with others to do the same?
Completely. I mean, you know, we're all about linking and making those connections. And you know, as long as you know someone's got data. I mean, the data we've already got, we're linking back to where we've got it from, whether it's the London Gazette or from Health and Safety Executive Notice or the official government supplier data, which we've also pulled in, and linking back. If someone else has got other data, then you know, and it's open data, then absolutely, you know, we'll consume it, republish it, link to it, you know, whatever, no problem at all.
No more questions? Okay, well then, thank you very much.